Good morning, Scrufftards and random strangers online. Welcome to the War Zone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. So, uh, early morning, drinking coffee, trying to get this video done. This is Gains and Losses Part 2. It's gonna be a bit of a repeat of a video I made a couple of days ago. We're gonna take a look at some changes on the front line up in Kursk and the importance of what's going on and what the mappers are showing and stuff like that. Yada yada yada. You know the drill. So basically, the need to outflank the enemy to cut logistics, and in the case of Ukraine, the need to trade territory. Overall, Russian advances seems to have halted in Kursk. Not that many updates. Even Russian claims seems to have quiet down a bit. But the threat to Ukraine and Kursk remains very much so, and we will take a look at that. And like it says, I began work on this on the 23rd, but real life got in the way. It's a thing you have to deal with, unfortunately. And but hopefully I will upload this on the 24th, and this is the morning of the 24th. So we'll see how it goes. Real life might still get in the way. So ISW map, not static. I mean, for the most part, it is stacked. This part here has not changed in a couple of days. Neither has this part or anything over here. We have this blob showed up the other day. Quite interesting because we have conflicting reports from Ukrainian sources of what's going on up here. Also, we have some changes over here outside of Vesele that we will be taking a look at as well. And interestingly enough, we have this patch here on the 21st. You could see this was contested, and then on the 22nd, or up to the 21st, I should say, and on the 22nd, Deep State indicated that Ukraine pushed Russia back in this area and are now in control of that salient into Ukrainian territory. And that would be in this area. I think it's this valley here, more specifically, east of this railroad, as you can see here, and this area here. And here's the interesting part where we have conflicting sources or conflicting maps, right? Here you have Andrew Perpetua indicating Russia made a push south in this valley. And this is you can see here on the ISW map, they've had these claims for a couple of days, but clearly Russia appears to be on the offensive in the area with these Russian gains and these claimed Russian gains. On the other hand, when we take a look at the Ukraine control map, same valley, east of the railroad, what do we have here on the 23rd? Russian tank burns near Kirivka after drone strike. And then slightly north of that location, on the 22nd, strikes on Ukrainian positions west of Kamyshivka. So, what's going on here? Some mappers say Ukraine has pushed in and isolated the Russians, pushed them back. Meanwhile, you have other mappers showing that Russia blows up Ukraine, attacks Ukrainians here, and then we have a Russian tank burning further south the day after. Very unclear what's going on. But we have some mappers. Deep State is not the only mapper. We have another mapper, I forgot his name, another mapper that has also shown Ukrainian gains here. But it could be a fluid situation where you have Russians and Ukrainians pushing in, counter-moving, trying to outmaneuver each other in this valley. Do we have Ukrainian gains in the area, or is Russia pushing? Who knows? Russia maybe made a push and Ukraine outflanked them. That could have happened. But this area, I'd say it's unclear and fluid at the moment. Now we're moving over to Glushkovo. We're going to be returned to that main incursion into Kursk yet towards the end. But now we're going to quickly jump over to Glushkovo. Because here we have some updates on the ISW map, mainly these prongs here. Overall, otherwise it remains the same on the ISW map. And what ISW is showing that Ukraine has pushed up along the main highway leading into town. As you can see, right to the outskirts here of where the town begins. And that's basically it. And maybe some gains over here as well towards Ubkovka. But according to ISW, Ukraine has made some gains outside of Vesele. Interestingly, if we take a look at Andrew Perpetua's map, we have a Ukrainian tank damaged east of Vesele. I keep saying this, Ukraine is operating east of Vesele, south and east. We keep seeing Ukrainian vehicles moving in the area, getting hit in this area east or southeast, eastward, southeast. So Ukraine is operating here and trying to find ways to punch into town. I made a video where I speculated that Ukraine seems to have pushed into town, but that has come into question after we saw a CV90 hitting a mine on this road trying to push into town. So it could be that this area, we will take a look at that a bit closer later on, is very much another fluid area where potentially we have Ukraine pushing in, Russia pushing back and forth over this main road, this street here. But I think it's safe to say that this area here is where Ukraine is confidently operating, trying to push north to outflank Vesele on the east, and we have pretty much confirmed that Ukraine has established a presence in Ubkovka, south of Vesele. Ukraine control map. As you can see, you have a lot of blue dots. He initially had Ukraine way up here, and he has now pulled back those claims. I think he's widened the Ukrainian control a bit, but he has pulled it back. This is where we have had these two dots are the extent of Ukrainian pushes. Well, technically this is the extent because we know a CV90 pushed across these fields way up here and unloaded troops. So this windbreak is the furthest northern push Ukraine has made, and that has been confirmed. What happened to these troops? Unclear, which is why it's contested. But we know that Ukraine has made this push, their farthest northern push into Glushkovo region. And then we have all these blue dots indicating where we have Ukrainian positions. Not sure why it's pulled back the controlled area, but it is what it is. That is according to the Ukraine control map. And just for reference, this is his old map where he has Ukraine in control of this area. Maybe he has not widened it. No, I'm not sure, but as you can see, this is his update. He used to have Ukraine up here. Now he's pulled it back a couple of 100 meters, 500 meters maybe, to this area south of Vesele. And here we have the Noel reports map. Remains unchanged as far as I can tell. Nothing has happened on the western front or the northern push into Vesele. According to Noel reports, Ukraine is in full control of Ubkovka and has pushed in well into Vesele, controlling roughly a little bit less than half the town, which lines up with what we saw the other day with the Ukrainian armor pushing out from Vesele along this road here to about over here where they launched that push north with the CV90 into the windbreak up here. That said, we have a recent video from yesterday that had a CV90 pushing up along here and struck mines right here and lost track as a consequence. So, which indicates that we have Russians operating here. They can move in and put down more mines. Maybe it was artillery cluster munitions that spread anti-tank mines over the area. That could also be a reason. But whatever the case, a CV90 struck a mine here, which puts this claim into question. That has to be said. So I made a video the other day that lean towards that this was an accurate map, since we seem to have Ukrainian armor pushing through town out this way. That may be in question. Maybe the situation is that, like I said, this road, this street, is highly contested with Ukraine pushing north, Russia pushing back south, back and forth. Who knows? But it's quite clear this is a very fluid area. It's not black and white, and things happen, and the front line is moving back and forth day by day. Deep State looks the same as it has done for a couple of days. No changes in the west. And Deep State has Ukraine in Ubkovka moving up east of Vesele, but not anywhere near that bend in the main road here, where we saw CV90 striking that mine. But what we can gather from the maps we've seen so far is that Ukraine has pushed into Ubkovka. Question is how far, but they are in Ubkovka. And Ukraine is operating east of Vesele. The question is how far north they've gotten. But east and south of Vesele is basically practically confirmed. And a new mapper here, Mayakovsk 73. I actually was, I took a quick look at one of Denis Daryino is his name, one of his videos. I took a quick look and noticed a new mapper, never seen it before. So we tracked it down, and here we have it, Mayakovsk 73. And this is his estimate, what's going on around Vesele, and he also has Ubkovka well and truly in Ukrainian control. The region south is in Ukraine control. They're pushing out towards the border towns, nothing strange here. And take a look, lots of Ukrainians operating east of Vesele. And we know Ukraine has been this far north, south of whatever this farm factory is. So this is another mapper that does confirm that Ukraine is well and truly operating in this area here. Established full control of this area according to Mayakovsk. We can gather that Ukraine is more than likely absolutely in Ubkovka. Question is how far north. He also has all of Vesele in the contested area. I don't think Ukraine has pushed further north than this line here, to be honest. So anything south of this line is properly contested. North may be subjected to drones and artillery strikes. But very interesting. So yes, Ubkovka, this is where we have Ukrainians without a doubt. And over here is where Ukraine is pushing strongly to establish a proper presence. So just to confirm the 6 sources concerning Vesele, as you can see, Ubkovka, Ukrainian control, Ubkovka, Ukrainian control. Ukraine is pushed into Ubkovka, is in control of parts of Ubkovka on the outskirts, southern end of Ubkovka. So all the mappers agree that Ukraine is in Ubkovka. The question is how far north? And then we have Ukraine pushing up east. We're further east now, pulled back. Ukrainian tank damage lines up with what we're seeing over here. And according to ISW, Russia has made claims to push down this way, which seems ridiculous considering we have all of these. Every day we're seeing reports of Ukrainian vehicles operating over here. So yes, south and east is where we have Ukraine. The question is if they are operating here. It's contested, it's in Ukrainian control. They are on the outskirts here. Outskirts, contested on the outskirts. Interesting. So this part here is seems to be key at the moment to what's happening in Vesele. And here we have Andrew Perpetua's map, and this is the Ukraine control map. So taking a look at this vital area here. According to Andrew Perpetua, Ukraine has pushed into parts of this vital industrial area. You can see that he has them in the forests outside of Ubkovka as well. And here you have red dots. These are destroyed Russian vehicles. and these two up here were from yesterday, I believe, 23rd. So quite recently we have Russian vehicles destroyed just outside this very vital area, south of this very important street, main road. So this area is very much contested, which makes it very interesting how Ukraine managed to push out this way with a couple of vehicles the other day. Or, and maybe that was further back, a couple of days ago, further still, and Russia has since then pushed back in, right? That could be it. Ukraine may have pushed in some days ago, and then videos get released, hodgepodged, not in sequence, out of date, and what have you. So Ukraine at one point was in control, managed to push through with the vehicles, and Russia has then since then pushed back in. That could very much be the case. Here you have, just south here, right here, a Ukrainian CV-90 destroyed in Vesele on the 23rd. That video was released, or it was at least geolocated. And that video is a CV-90 going full tilt. I mean, it is going like a bat out of hell, heading straight into town. And then it hits the brakes as someone in the crew spots the mines, and it almost comes to a full stop. You can see it coming to a stop and then going one last in. Yeah, and it skids a last inch, and that is all that is needed to strike a mine, and the vehicle loses the track. According to this, it says it's destroyed. Unclear from that video I saw, at least. It hits a mine, that much is certain, so it's probably been properly detracked. But I guess by then it's an easy target for drones and what have you, so probably was taken out in the end. That has to be said. But interestingly, why it went at full speed, either to cross this road to avoid drones and get into cover, which could indicate you have friendlies here, or it was actually doing a full tilt assault to get in here, find cover, and unload troops to take on the Russians set up in this area here, contested area. Sorry for that. Very unclear what that was all about, but it seems as if this area is very much contested. So it could be that the CV-90 was rushing to get into cover to reach friendlies in this region here and unload those dismounts and get troops into the combat. So how did mines get on road? Number of options. Russians could be in control here and has mined it, or Russia has launched cluster munitions, spreading out mines all over the area. That could also be one of the options. So anyway, very clear that this area is contested, and it's a very fluid situation surrounding this stretch of the main street going straight through the outskirts here of town. So my assessment, am I an expert? Absolutely not. Do I know what I'm talking about? Hell no. Anyway, my assessment. Outskirts here, we have Ukrainians operating in this area here, trying to push up north, and they are operating most definitely very firmly in the south, trying to establish presence in the west, in the east, pushing strongly north to achieve that. But they are well and truly in control of this area. If we take a look at all the mappers, they all seem to agree that Ukraine is in the forests down here. This is Ukrainian control. Question marks, what's going on in Ubukovka? Potentially or probably we have Ukrainians pushing into town, pushing up north in the forests, and we have Russians defending parts of the area. I think that is a fair assessment. I don't think this could be fully in Ukrainian control, but it seems to be leaning towards it being contested. Then you have this area. This seems to be the key at the moment. Ukraine could potentially have moved in and had it under control. Russia has probably made some counterattacks and pushed Ukraine back. It could be that this area is under Ukrainian control and this area is under Russian control. Maybe we're seeing this part of town switching hands, with Russia being forced to being forced north of the highway here, of the main street, and then gathering forces to push Ukraine back and forth here. So I think this is a situation that may actually change a bit the day to day on where we have forces in this area here. This here could be contested as well, like I said. So I think this is sums up the situation with a lot of question marks since we don't know exactly what's going on. Like I said, I think this is without a doubt under Ukrainian control. Here we have contested areas. This is also a location where we see a lot of artillery strikes on the firm's maps. And then you have this critical area. Whoever controls this basically controls the town. If Ukraine can gain proper control of this area, then they can begin pushing in along the streets, and Russia is in trouble. So, son of a, sorry for that. So Russia will keep trying to maintain a hold of this patch, is my guess. I think Ukraine will be pushing in this way, and Russia is hell-bent on holding this area, because if they can do that, Ukraine probably has issues moving further into town. And now it's the main incursion here, east of Glushkovo, and we're gonna rely a bit on Mayakovsk 7-3 again. He is also showing that Ukraine is pushed in here east of the railroad. That very confusing area. Is Russia pushing in? Is Ukraine pushing in? Who knows? I guess we'll see in a day or two what's really going on up there. But I want to highlight this area down here because this is the most critical, vital location in Kursk at the moment. This area here. ISW has confirmed Russian positions back here. Kind of lines up with all the other mappers, as well as Mayakovsk. But what ISW shows is Russian claims of having crossed the river Snagos and making it almost all the way to Sverdlikovo. Andrew Perpetua has these claims somewhat backed up. Well, he has this area as contested, which suggests we have confirmed some confirmed Russian presence in this region. Son of a. And then we have Mayakovsk map. As you can see, it kind of lines up with these two maps as well. But it's a bit more conservative. As you can see here, ISW has Russia almost this far out, almost at Sverdlikovo. Andrew Perpetua has Russia more like this far out. But Mayakovsk, he has, well, Russian control basically lines up more or less with all the other mappers. But he also has this area as contested, and more importantly, this town here, Darino. This is the town that we should focus on because it has been struck with artillery for several days, according to the firm's maps. And this is where we have a crossing point. We have another one up here, but this is where you have a crossing point, and it appears that Russia is after that bridge, and they want to get across here to begin operations east of the Snagos River. Darino seems to be the Russian objective at the moment, unless they already are across, according to, as we can see here, according to ISW. But Darino is a town that we should keep an eye on, because if Russia has Darino, they can actually begin operations east of Snagos. And with all the artillery strikes aimed at this town, it appears as if either Russia is trying to push in or Ukraine is trying to contain the Russians in this small town. And the significance is not insignificant. The significance is not insignificant. Perfect English. Because if Russia is across Darino, they can push out towards Sverdlikovo. According to the claims, they are almost there. And then they can cut this highway leading north. And that is very vital because then they have cut the logistics leading out from Suja northward to the most northern front line, and they cut the logistics, the main supply route rather, to the Ukrainian forces trying to hold the northern front. Also, if Russia grabs Sverdlikovo and gets across this bridge, there's another bridge in town down here, if they get across here, right, then there is a real possibility that Russia can push on southward to this highway here, this big highway. And this is the main supply route leading from Ukraine into Kursk, supporting the entire Kursk incursion. So, if Russia gets across Darino, they can reach Sverdlikovo. It's only a couple of kilometers. And if they reach Sverdlikovo, cutting this main supply route north, they are actually in a very good position to come across here. There's another bridge in town here, or pushing out this way and utilize another bridge in Lebedevka. If they get across the river, this highway and the entire Kursk incursion is at threat. And Russia could even begin pushing south across the border here between these rivers and reach this highway coming down this way. So holding Darino has strategical importance, not tactical, not operational, strategical importance. If Russia gets across, they can push south here and they can push in here. And if they get across the river or south of the border, the entirety of the Kursk incursion is at risk if Russia can reach this highway. So if Russia does push out this way and reaches this far and cuts this supply route north, well, Ukraine can't utilize it obviously. Then they have to move all the supplies for the northern front line this way and come across this way here. But then they still need to push down to this intersection here, which was the original objective for the Russians. That's why they pushed in from Snagos to Yubimovka. And that is why Ukraine is so fiercely defending Yubimovka, because if Russia gets through here, they grab this vital crossroad. And that was the original objective for Russia, to deny Ukraine sending in reinforcements and supplies this way, and the same this way. Russia also has the option to coming in up here. You have another crossing here. And if they do that, they again can push up and grab this vital crossroad. So as you can see, Russia is in a good position to grab control of this entire main supply route leading north. That is vital for supplying the Ukrainian forces holding the northern front line. And say that this happens. Russia does push out to the crossroads. They push out to the river here and cuts the supply route leading from Suja all the way north to these northern front lines here. Ukraine can't move into logistics this way. They can't move them in this way. They have to rely on shoddy dirt roads going across the terrain through forests, high ground, low ground, what have you. It's not a viable option to supporting the entire front line. Ukraine will weaken in the north. They will have to fall back over time, not instantly, but over time. And with all the rivers down here and Russia pushing in this way, Ukraine has no other option than to fall back this way and eventually get across this river and defend this part of the territory that they're holding on to, relying on rivers and lakes as natural obstacles to help them defend territory, which means Russia will, over time, again, not instantly, over time, secure this entire area just by coming in this way and coming in this way. So it's Daryino, right? You see how important Daryino is. If they come in here and cut supplies, that affects the troops holding positions here, and that means Russia can push in here, and then they have cut the last main supply line leading into this entire region. this goddamn cough. So Darino is son of a, sorry for that. So this is how vital Darino is. Has Russia pushed across, or is Ukraine holding the line at this river Snagost? I mean, we have some maps showing that Russia is across. Others say that Russia is only over here. So, you know, it's hard to tell, but without a doubt, Darino, that has been shelled for several days, is absolutely key at the moment for this entire operation, and more specifically, uh, specifically immediately, this region up here. And if Russia pushes out, I mean, it's only a matter of time before Ukraine will lose this entire area and they have to fall back east of this river here. And if this happens, as it appears as if Russia intends to make sure it does, uh, that is why it's so super crucial for Ukraine to secure Vesele and begin pushing into Glushkovo, because they need to trade territory. If they lose this territory, they need to gain this territory, because the entire operation hinges on Ukraine holding territory in Kursk, and that will force Russia to bring in more and more and more manpower to the area to fight in Kursk rather than fighting in Ukraine. So Ukraine must hold territory in Kursk. Otherwise, the entire operation is a complete failure. They must hold territory, and they must hold for as long as possible, well into 2025, to draw in Russian forces from Ukraine to Kursk. So, I mean, taking Vesele is crucial for Russia. They need to hold Vesele to deny that from happening, just like Ukraine needs to hold Darino, basically. So it comes down to Darino and Vesele at the moment, if Ukraine or Russia will succeed in Kursk. And Ukraine must come up here, cut the logistics coming in from Glushkovo into Darino, because then Russia must bring things over open fields. And when mud season settles in, that won't happen. Their trucks will get stuck in the mud. So when mud season begins, it does appear as if Vesele will fall. And then, but it's mud season, so then Ukraine will struggle pushing on anyway. But Russia must hold Vesele for as long as possible. And Ukraine must hold Darino for as long as possible. And it all comes down to moving in and cutting logistics to Vesele, and pushing through Darino to cutting logistics to the northern front line of the main incursion. So outflanking the enemy, cutting logistics, and trading territory like we began the video. That is what this is all about. You need to push in a favorable position, outflanking the enemy here at Vesele and through Darino, to cut logistics to vital locations for the enemy. And that will force the enemy to fall back, right? So the Russians want the Ukrainians to fall back from Korenevo in the north, and here Ukraine wants to cut logistics to force Russia to fall back from Vesele, which will give Ukraine a good chance to push in this way to Glushkovo, because there's really that's my alarm, son of a, this morning, I swear to God. To push up here, there's really no place to defend in between, so Russia will be forced all the way back to Glushkovo and this town up here. So taking Vesele will give Ukraine a lot of territory in Glushkovo, which is super crucial for their war effort overall, and for well, the Kursk operation specifically. But they need to trade territory with Russia in order to force Russia to allocate more and more manpower into Kursk. Well, finally got to the end of the video. It's been a chaotic morning, let me tell you, but here we are. Video is done, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it made some sense. Fluid situation in Vesele, a bit unclear at Darino, but these are the two battlefields that everything hinges on at the moment. Ukraine gaining territory in the northeast, not that important if they can't hold Darino, to be honest. And well, Vesele, Ukraine needs to push in, and more importantly, they also need to secure the border towns between Ukraine and Glushkovo County, so they can bring in their logistics to support the main fighting. But yeah, overall, uh, outflanking the enemy, cutting logistics, and trading territory. That is, those are the key points in the video and for the Kursk operation overall for both Russia and Ukraine. Anyway, enough rambling. That's the end of the video. Go på marsch, Ukraine. Give them hell.